Could this be the Jamal Williams revenge game? It's a Friday, Locked On Lions.
You are Locked On Lions, your daily Detroit Lions podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Here we go, everybody. It's the end of the week. It's a Friday, December 1st, a new Saturday, December 2nd. It's Locked On Lions on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Matt Derry with you. Thanks for making us your first listen. Checking us out wherever you get your podcast. Please subscribe and check us out and watch us for free on our Locked On Lions YouTube channel as we get you ready for the 8-3 Lions and the 5-6 New Orleans Saints down in New Orleans coming up Sunday at 1 o'clock. Down at the Superdome. Should be an interesting game. Should be a game that really, I don't have a great feel for, but I think the Lions are going to win. The Saints are banged up. We're going to give you the Saints injury report, Lions injury report. We got to talk about Jamal Williams, who we really haven't discussed much this year. Hasn't even run for 200 yards this year. I got keys to the game. Jack Campbell going to play a big role. A lot to get into on this Friday edition of Locked On Lions. And yes, we're brought to you by the Gametime app. Create an account and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Follow us on Twitter at Derry Speaks and at Locked On Lions, Matt Derry Facebook fan page, and on Threads at The Real Matt Derry. All right, here we go. First of two, back-to-back here on the road for the Lions. Saints this coming Sunday. Bears coming up next Sunday. And I'm going to I know that for those of you that are watching on the YouTube channel, you'll see kind of the rundown on the right-hand side, but I'm going to kind of go out of order here because one thing we have not talked about much that I think will play a little bit on Sunday is the Jamal Williams factor. Saints have a lot of injuries, all right, especially to their receivers. But the one thing New Orleans at times can do pretty well is run the football with Alvin Kamara and with, yes, former Lion Jamal Williams. Now, let's go back to the offseason. Jamal Williams, when he signed with the Saints, said he was disrespected by his offer from Detroit, and he was disappointed. And, I've heard from a couple of people that are close to Jamal that one of the reasons why he chose the Saints was because the Lions were on their schedule. He has circled this game as kind of a revenge game. And so, am I scared that Jamal Williams is going to dominate the Lions? No. And the Lions, from a run defense perspective, have been pretty good this year. All right. It's not like they're going up against Bo Jackson in his prime here. All right. It's not like they're going up against Emmitt Smith or Barry Sanders or anybody like that. It's Jamal Williams. We love Jamal. He was fantastic last year, set the touchdown record for a single season as a Lion and everything else. But keep an eye on this. On Sunday, will Jamal Williams really want to have extra motivation? Will he be trash talking his former teammates? Will there be pushing and shoving after the whistle with Williams talking? And will the Lions get sucked into it? There's nothing worse than the first guy yapping, second guy shoving in the face mask, and the second guy getting a 15-yard penalty. The Lions have to keep their cool if Jamal is going to be going crazy in this game. Now, again, he's the backup basically to Alvin Kamara. So it's not like, he only has less than 200 yards rushing this year. He's been banged up. He's not gotten a lot of touches. This has not been, I think, what Jamal Williams thought he was signing up for in New Orleans. But again, the Lions chose David Montgomery over him. And so this should be interesting this week as to how Jamal handles this, how he plays, and if there is extra motivation, especially against a team that, quite honestly, he fell in love with the last couple of years. And last season was just awesome for the Lions. So Jamal Williams revenge game, we'll see. All right. Like I said before, the Lions are a top 5 run defense in the NFL. They've been pretty darn good against the run. Now, with that being said, am I concerned about Kamara? Sure. Out of the backfield and everything else that number 41 does. He's a very good football player. A little bit concerned about Jamal Williams, yes. But what I'm really concerned about, if I'm the Lions defense, is the Taysom Hill Wildcat package. All right. New Orleans gave big dollars to Derek Carr this offseason. He has not played well. He's not taking good care of the football. He's one of the worst red zone quarterbacks in the league when it comes to giveaways and takeaways. But sometimes what the Saints do, when I was in Indianapolis a few weeks ago and watched them in person when the Colts played the Saints, one thing they do, they bring in a package that involves Taysom Hill, of course, the former quarterback in college, wide receiver, slot guy, can be everywhere on the field, wildcat. They bring in Taysom Hill, and the other team even knows, all right, Taysom Hill's under center. Taysom Hill's in the shotgun. We know it's coming. It's wildcat. He's going to run. And he has success. All right. And the Lions, as we know, going back to 2 weeks ago against the Bears in the win over the Bears, barely, when they eked one out against Justin Fields and company, they had trouble with designed runs for the quarterback when Justin Fields was under center, got the football, and immediately ran out of a shotgun. So there you go. Keep your eye on the Taysom Hill Wildcat package. If you're New Orleans, you look at the video. You watch the tape. You see what earlier in the year Lamar Jackson was able to do with his legs against the Lions. Justin Fields was able to do against his legs against the Lions. Geno Smith. Geno Smith was more rollouts and eluding rushers than it was actual quarterback keepers or wildcat runs. But if you're the Saints and Pete Carmichael and everything else and Dennis Allen, you design plays to get Taysom Hill running, because the Lions are going to be without their best linebacker. Alex Anzalone is doubtful with that wrist injury, hand injury. And we're going to talk about Jack Campbell coming up momentarily, but this should be a concern for Detroit. We know they've been an improved defense against the run this year, but when it's a quarterback running, that's a different story. It's a different story. And, last 3 weeks, Justin Herbert, Justin Fields, Jordan Love, all have had pretty good games against the Lions. I'm hoping that Aaron Glenn, going back to New Orleans, where, of course, he was a defensive backs coach, has a history with the Saints, Dan Campbell going back. I hope this is the week. Defense steps up, gets some takeaways, bothers Derek Carr on the pass rush. And when we tell you about the Saints injury situation, I mean, it's not good. They're two of their top 3 receivers banged up, out. So we will get to that coming up next right here on Locked On Lions. A lot to do on this Friday edition. Thanks for, again, checking us out wherever you get your podcasts. A shout out to our everydayers that are out there that check out the show each and every day. We appreciate you. We're brought to you today by our friends at FanDuel. Weather getting colder out there. The NFL, though, stays hot. On FanDuel right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action than doing it right now. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options that include spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL, and of course, of the Locked On Podcast Network. Many of you on Twitter or X or whatever it is, at Derry Speaks, DERY Speaks, appreciate you, have been sending me your Spotify podcast listening lists and how you have Locked On Lions near the top, which I appreciate. Some of our everydayers that are out there that have sent me these, if I can give them a little bit of a shout out. King Fonts 1 at Lions Ride or Die. Appreciate you for listening. John Suck, S-U-K or Sook. Everydayer from Seattle, he says. Thank you, John. Appreciate you. Who else is out there that was sending me their stuff? I just want to give him a little bit of a shout out. Everydayers. Jason Wallington is an everydayer. Thank you to Jason. Dave Jones. We appreciate you, Dave, and everybody that is our everydayers that watch us Monday through Friday. We'll have a post-game pod on Sunday following the Lions game in New Orleans against the Saints. We promised you the injury report. As far as the Lions are concerned, good news, bad news. Alex Anzalone, doubtful. He's not going to play. All right. With that hand and wrist injury. But the good news is Jonah Jackson, who's been bothered by also a wrist and an ankle, upgraded to questionable. So it sounds like Jonah Jackson will play Sunday for the Lions against the Saints. That's their left guard that they desperately need. Saints are banged up. Cam Jordan is a game-time decision. They've been their best pass rusher for years, along with Granderson, defensive end, has an ankle injury, has not practiced all week. He's questionable, they list him as, but they're saying game-time decision. Wouldn't surprise me if tomorrow they designate him as doubtful or out. Marcus May, one of their starting safeties, out. Kendre Miller, backup running back, out. Rashid Shaheed, who to me is their best deep threat and a really, really underrated route runner, thigh injury, out. Hasn't practiced all week. And starting linebacker Pete Werner, the former Ohio State Buckeye, has a shoulder and oblique injury. He's out. So 3 starters out. Could be 4 with Cam Jordan. And the kicking situation for them has been interesting. Blake Grupe, who, of course, made the team this year, and the Saints unloaded Will Lutz to the Broncos, limited in practice all week with a groin injury. If Blake Grupe can't go, you guys heard it yesterday from Ross Jackson on Locked On Saints. Austin Seibert, the former Lion, would kick for the Saints if Grupe can't go. Chris Olave, full practice today, coming out of concussion protocol, listed as questionable. They're really their best receiver right now, with Michael Thomas out, with Rashid Shaheed out. Chris Olave somehow is not cleared for by doctors before the game. That would be something else. That'd be a huge break for the Lions. Olave is a really good football player, really good. And like I said, Saints, especially last week with their loss to the Falcons, got really, really banged up in that game. But good news for the Lions is Tracy Walker, David Montgomery, those guys have been taken off the injury report. And so they are ready to go for this week's game against New Orleans. This is a weird one. Like, to sit here and go, oh, I definitely think it's a lock that the Lions win. I don't. I think they're going to. I think New Orleans has been crappy the last couple of weeks. They're in a terrible division. They're 5-6. They're kind of teetering right now. There's not a lot of confidence in that city over their coach or quarterback, Dennis Allen, and Derek Carr. And if Olave didn't play and already Michael Thomas is on IR and Shaheed is out, this is a big advantage for the Lions. They've got to take advantage of this game. New Orleans, like the Lions run the football. We know this. David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs, how they kind of wore out Kansas City at the end of week 1, how they kind of wore out Green Bay at the end of week 4, how they've iced games with their ground game. Last week, the Falcons ran all over the Saints. New Orleans right now has the 23rd best run defense in the league. They are susceptible, and without one of their starting linebackers in Pete Werner. The Lions are worried about Jared Goff right now, and maybe he's not 100% healthy, and they haven't said that, but there's been speculation about it. And this is the week, really, with Montgomery and Gibbs and this offensive line, Ragnow back, Jackson back, just to pound with the Saints, pound New Orleans up front. Win that battle up front and put this game away early. And put New Orleans out of their misery. Put them away. I think that's going to be a big key for the Lions. And I'm going to go over keys to victory. We're going to talk about Jack Campbell. Actually, let's do that right now. So number one key, again, the first key to victory is running the football. Getting back to what the Lions do best. Do they have a good passing game? Yes. Has Jared Goff, for the most part this year, had a pretty good year? He has. Is Amon-Ra St. Brown one of the better weapons in the league? Sure. Is Sam Laporta one of the best tight end or the top rookie tight end in football? Absolutely. All right. We know the Lions can throw the ball. But if you're going up against a porous run defense that last week got shredded by the Falcons, you've got a two-headed monster in Montgomery and Gibbs. And of course, don't forget about Craig Reynolds. Come on, Craig. Run the ball. Establish a line of scrimmage. Get back to doing what you do best. That is what the Lions do best. When David Montgomery carried it 30 times for nearly 200 yards against Green Bay, and the Lions has established their will. That's what Dan Campbell, Brad Holmes, and the Lions talked about doing when they took this program over 3 years ago. That's key number one. Key number two, and I said this yesterday to Ross on the crossover podcast. Go back and watch it or listen to it. Turnovers. All right. Lions have been horrible the last few weeks. Jared Goff has 6 turnovers the last 2 weeks. They nearly lost both those games. They're a -5 on the season. Not good enough. They were a +7 last year and nearly made the playoffs. So no more interceptions, no pick sixes, no fumbles. Take care of the ball on the road. Don't let New Orleans and that crowd get into it with a short field or with a turnover. I think that's going to be a big time key in this game. And number 3, anybody, please, can we get somebody not named Aiden Hutchinson to sack the quarterback this week? Derek Carr, when he has time and is surveying the field, is pretty good. It's not great, but he's pretty decent. But when Derek Carr's under pressure, all bets are off. He is a loose cannon. Bruce Irvin might play. Let's see him. John Kaminsky, where have you been? Josh Paschal, come on now. 2nd round pick. Show me something. Be very interested in seeing who gets designated as inactive at 11:30 on Sunday morning. Because one of those guys, if Bruce Irvin comes up, do both Okwara brothers get deactivated? Is Charles Harris going to be a healthy scratch? What about Isaiah Buggs? What's going on there? We're going to find out a little bit about this defensive line coming up on Sunday. Who they have their, who's in their good graces, who they think can get to the quarterback, and who can be disruptive. 11:30 on Sunday morning will tell us a lot about how they feel about their players, especially along that defensive line, for sure. Because nobody, and look, Aiden Hutchinson certainly needs to be better, right? If you look at the Lions defensive grades from PFF right now, and I have them with me for the season, Aiden Hutchinson is their highest graded player at 90.2, and then Aleem McNeil at 87. The next defensive lineman on the list, Romeo Okwara, at a 73.2. So keep that in mind. Speaking of PFF, Jack Campbell, there will be a big role for him. One other key to victory, I said it before, is Taysom Hill. If Taysom Hill runs all over the Lions, all bets are off. All right, coming up next, I want to talk about Jack Campbell because he's going to be, the green dot will be on his helmet. He'll be wearing the green dot. He'll be wearing the headset inside the helmet, getting the play calls from Aaron Glenn. That's a concern for me. We will talk about that coming up next. Shouldn't have to worry when you're buying tickets to your next big event. What website do you go to? How's this all going to work out? How am I going to get my tickets last minute? I'll tell you how you're going to do it. You're going to get it with the Gametime app. Gametime is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their best price guarantee, Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. You can get tickets for anything. Last night, I went and saw Straight No Chaser in Toledo with my wife at the Stranahan Theater. Shout out to Segi E Show, Detroit's own. Straight No Chaser is amazing. Get the tickets on Gametime. It's awesome. And I love the view from your seats at every venue. No matter where you are, they've got them on Gametime, so you know exactly where you're sitting, angles, how high up you are, how low you are, etc. See the view from your seat before you buy so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. They've got everything at Gametime. Plus, the Gametime guarantee means you'll always get the best price. And if you find tickets in the same section or row for less, Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create the account, redeem the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right, folks, final thing. Aaron Glenn said it yesterday with Alex Anzalone, Lions defensive captain, likely out of this game, will be out of this game, doubtful with a hand and wrist injury. That means that the green dot, the man calling the signals, the man that gets the play calls in his headset, inside, or not headset, but in his helmet, from defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn, future head coach Aaron Glenn, will be rookie linebacker Jack Campbell, the 18th overall pick out of Iowa. I've watched Jack Campbell very closely, all right? And I'll be the first to admit, if you look back now and say, why didn't the Lions take Jalen Carter at 12 and Jahmyr Gibbs at 18? Would that have been better right now for the Lions? Yeah. Yeah, it would have. Jack Campbell may end up being the next Chris Spielman. He may end up being the next, Darryl Talley, Ray Lewis, whatever. All right. But right now, he has not played that well. And Jeff Risdon pointed this out at the Lions Wire, and he's spot on. There's times you watch Jack Campbell, and he looks like he's scared to make a mistake. He's scared to be in the wrong spot. He's hesitant. And this week, when you're facing, Jimmy Graham and a decent core of tight ends, as good a running back out of the backfield catching the football as Alvin Kamara, this is going to be an interesting, the Wildcat situation with Taysom Hill. This is going to be a tough game for Jack Campbell. And you're asking a rookie to make all the signals and get the play call and lead this defense with Alex Anzalone out. So it came to me like, well, maybe I'm off on Jack Campbell. Maybe Pro Football Focus has a good answer on Jack Campbell. The Lions have 29 defensive players that have been graded out by PFF this year, 29 that have gotten snaps. Out of the 29 defensive players, Jack Campbell ranks 25th. He's been the 5th worst Lions defender performer this year with a grade of 48.6. Again, rookie, going to take some time. Derek Barnes will have a bigger role. Rodrigo will play some this week. We'll see what the Lions end up doing with their linebackers. But Jack Campbell, Aaron Glenn said, is ready. He's ready to take that green dot. He's ready to lead. He's a good football player. All the things that you would think the defensive coordinator would say about a player. But this game where you're facing Kamara, you're facing Taysom Hill, I have a worry. I hope I'm wrong. I hope Jack Campbell has a 12-13 tackle game. I hope it's his coming out party. I hope we say, man, go back to that New Orleans game on December 3rd. That was the game that springboarded Jack Campbell to more playing time. Because, there are times the Lions defense is Anzalone and Derek Barnes out there at linebacker. Campbell rotates in. Certainly you'd figure a first-round pick would have beaten out Derek Barnes, and he essentially has now. But, start of the year, they were rotating those guys in and out. But now Jack Campbell with that green dot is going to kind of be the quarterback of the defense this Sunday. Keep an eye on it. I hope he proves us wrong. I hope this is his coming out party and an opportunity for him to really step up and play well. Cause some turnovers, be in the right gaps, make a play against the run, make a play against the pass, cover the tight ends. Is he going to lose some matchups with Alvin Kamara? Of course he is. Tough to have. Alvin Kamara would be a tough cover for a corner or a safety, not just a linebacker. So I still say Lions win this football game. I see a 27-23 type of final right on that number of 4.5, 4 points out in Vegas. I don't think New Orleans, I think but the Lions cannot let Derek Carr, Hill, whomever come down and score on their first touch. The Lions defense has to get a stop to start this game. Green Bay went right down the field and scored. The Bears went right down the field and scored. The Chargers, last 5 possessions, 2.5 quarters, right down the field and scored every single time. You go on the road, establish yourself, win those battles up front, be disruptive, and please get to the quarterback. I mean, Jordan Love's uniform had never been more clean in his life than after this past Thanksgiving Day. Great week of shows here. We had a lot of fun. Thanks for checking us out wherever you get your podcast, Locked On Lions, right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. Post-game pod coming up on Sunday. So check us out there as the Lions take on the New Orleans Saints. This was a team many people, including Peter King, pegged for 10, 11, 12 wins in a bad NFC South. They are 5-6. They've lost 2 in a row. And fans there, if the Lions go in there and really pound them, fans there are going to want Dennis Allen, their head coach, gone. Wouldn't surprise me if that took place. All right, we are back again on Sunday after the game. Have a great weekend, everybody.